Hello and welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of A New Home Sales. I'm your host, Anya Chrysanthemum, and joining today is my co-host, Sarah Williams, Director of Sales here at Inugo.
Thanks for joining us.
And we also have an additional guest today. We're lucky to welcome Barrett Davis. Barrett is the CEO of NterNow. Welcome to the podcast, Barrett.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
As always, we'd like to kick things off by giving our listeners a little bit of an introduction. So some listeners may not know who you are, what you do at NterNow. So give us the whole spiel.
Yeah, absolutely. We started NterNow several years ago. We wanted to make sure that home shoppers could see homes on demand, get instant access into the homes. And now we work with 100 plus home builders, and we've been around and expanding our integrations recently. And we're excited to announce one of the new ones today on the NuGo podcast.
Whoop, whoop. So, all right. So let's talk about self-touring and how it's helping home builders sell, especially during the holiday season. So we're recording this a week before Christmas, and we're just talking about all the craziness that takes place. Everybody's scrambling for last minute gifts. And oftentimes we're having a hard time staffing our model homes because our salespeople are human too. They want to take a little vacation. It's been kind of a crazy ride over the last year as in. We went kind of from, okay, homes were flying off the shelf, so to speak, and we didn't need any help selling them. If you didn't want the house, no problem. Somebody else is going to be taking your place. But the last year, 2 years has really changed. And now we're seeing home builders with actual inventory on their hands. So I was talking to a friend of mine who builds homes in Midwest in Wisconsin. And he was saying, hey, I need to come up with some new strategies to help me move this inventory because I do have a lot of inventory homes on my hands. Is that something that you're hearing, Barrett? Because I know you talk to a lot of home builders. And Sarah, I'd love to hear from you as well on this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say NterNow and self-guided tours made their name during COVID. And this past Q4, we're hitting all record numbers. We have more homes under management than we did during COVID, just to give you an example of how much self-guided tours have sort of penetrated home building. We're even international now. And I'd say the top 3 reasons why people are using self-guided tours right now, you definitely said it, inventory is stacked up. The most cost-effective way without hiring humans is definitely leveraging self-guided tours to give instant access into those inventory homes. About 25% of all NterNow traffic occurs after traditional staffed hours. So let's just say that's generally what we keep track of is 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. So there's a majority of home shoppers now, definitely in the upper end or middle class category, where their productivity at work is under fire. They have to stay longer. They can't meet you during the day. They can barely get there on the weekends. So self-guided tours is a way to capture leads outside of traditional hours where they might have left work, they hit target, and they see your signage and they drive through the neighborhood and they can get right in. We have a lot of home builders now that are also under pressure from a staffing flexibility standpoint, where they have a mix of junior staff, new to the field, and then they also have senior sales leaders as well. And for some of the communities that are in closeouts, or they might have some junior staff, self-guided tours is a great supplement to them. It's sort of like the robot in the field. No way is it a replacement. We do have more and more home builders that are creating lines that are spec only. So they're building less models and they're leveraging more of an OSC team. So even for some of the large regional home builders that we support, they built in northern Utah and then they built in southern Utah. And they're sort of retrenching out of southern Utah and just deploying self-guided tours and re-centralizing their sales team back to the corporate office and things like that. So those are like the 3 big ones why we see people starting with NterNow or extremely expanding in self-guided tours.
And that totally is what we see on our end. Obviously, with the NuGo tools, people start online shopping for homes and using our visualization tools. And Sarah, I don't know about you, but every single time I pulled stats for one of my presentations to show what's the most popular time to shop for new construction, no fail, every single time it's Friday and Saturday night between the hours of like midnight and 2 a.m. are the hottest times that people are shopping online for new construction, which totally makes sense that they're not making it into your model home during, the normal business hours. And yeah, if you don't have somebody to assist them or take them to that next step, guess what? They're probably going to your competitors, just like they do online. If you don't have the tools available to take you through some of the steps independently, they're moving on to the next guy who can provide that. You don't sell the virtual tour part of a new go,
Yeah.
but obviously virtual tours is something that we do here. And I would say that less and less builders are building those physical models now, right? We're hearing more that people are going to like a hub type of situation where they may have one model home in the region for several locations in the area, or they're getting rid of model homes altogether. Instead of building three model homes, we now have one model home.
It's cost, right? It's a huge cost for the builder to build. We talk about this all the time. A home that used to be $500,000 is over $1 million now in building products and things like that. So a lot of it is just that money could be used in so many other ways. And you can build virtual, obviously, tours. You could do visualization software. You could have self entry like Barrett's tools. So you can use that money in technology and it's like spread out. You can use it in marketing in digital marketing. You can expand that budget in so many other ways. So builders, I think, are realizing that so much of the early shopping is happening online. And also when we are talking about self-guided tours, what I've heard is that a couple things that Barrett said, I've hear the same thing on our end. It's like one, the hours when people are trying to shop, it's usually not lined up with our office hours. And then also these builders are really trying to keep their A staff. They're really trying to keep these employees, the really good ones, satisfied. So this is a huge competitive edge. Self-guided tours and technology is keeping a leaner team and having your A all-star team, but giving them a schedule that works well with their families. And having self-guided tours allows you to have less turnover. You're not going to have as much turnover in your staffing when you have different technology because you're supporting your team and you're realizing they all want to go home and have dinner with their families. Barrett, like you said, people go after work and are touring these homes. Well, your actual sales team wants to be able to go maybe shop for something they need in their own personal life after work. So
Yeah.
they want to be done at 5 o'clock. Now, of course, if we're talking about contracts and selection, that's the next tier. But when we're talking about folks that are still in that shopping phase of like investigating, I hear from consumers. I'm a consumer. All three of us consume things. We might want to check things out without somebody, without a human. And a lot of this technology that Barrett offers and what we offer allows that transparency and allows people to do things for that personality that wants to check it out on their own before they kind of feel like they're going on that first date. It's like, with a salesperson. So that's what I hear. And I know that that's my buying behavior too. I'm not ready. I don't necessarily want to cozy up yet. Let me check things out. Let me do some pricing online. Let me poke around at that home and then we can take it from there.
Builders also are sort of like shifting some of their tectonic plates, like even thinking differently going into
Yes.
2024. I think like people are leaner, higher productivity, higher sales targets. I hear the growth pressure just from talking with some of the executives. Definitely what I've seen work a little bit for people that are interested in implementing self-guided tours is if your home builder is expanding into a new region or a new city, they've declined to build like a design studio. So they're doubling down on their budgets for virtual design, virtual tours, less models, a thinner footprint, and also the investment in self-guided tours. It's interesting how traditional sales teams, even at the highest level, every salesperson needs to walk somebody through a home as they tour that home. And that's typically the opposite of what consumers want the first time they want to see a home. So even some of those natural mandates are starting to shift where people are experimenting a little bit with self-guided tours, just trying to target some of the buying personas that might have had a bad car buying experience where they might just want to see the home right away, but you're stuck right into the sales funnel and the marketing funnel for the home builder. So it'll definitely be a competitive edge against other people in your space. It's much more innovative than the resale experience. I think a lot of times builders compete against each other, but with self-guided tours, it's such an innovative experience versus the resale process. They will come right into the new construction funnel, having that innovative experience, being able to just go inside a home without scheduling a time with their realtor to meet another realtor. It's so painful. So a lot of the times we talk about this, it's about competition between builders, but just blowing away the new construction experience versus resale is a huge reason why at least self-guided tours is really starting to penetrate home building this year.
So as you're talking about this, I have a couple of things come to mind for me. So one, obviously, the rates this year have been crazy, and it's even more expensive to just build the model home and maintain that model home, right? It's not cheap. Luckily, the Fed just announced that they're going to be cutting rates next year. Woohoo! I think they said we're going to be in for 3 total rate cuts, which is insane. And it's great to hear. And I think everybody's celebrating. It's like early Christmas present for all of us. So, but obviously you can't wait until rates go down to sell this inventory home. So that is a great solution for you. And then I do remember one of the conferences I attended. I mean, it was a few years ago where Chris Hartley was speaking, and he was an early adopter of NterNow with his previous building company. And I remember he talked specifically about the holiday time and how many homes they were able to sell while he was at home with his family and who was coming in, because not everybody celebrates Christmas. Not everybody celebrates Thanksgiving. There is certain buyer type that will actually come in during those busy holiday times, and they were able to lock those deals and move forward. So that's amazing. And then when you're talking about that car dealership experience, so there's a study done that actually shows that when women, specifically women, approach sales center for new construction, they experience the same anxiety as they do when they approach a car dealership, which is
Yeah.
really bad, right? Like if you think about it, it's like,
Yeah,
oh,
so
I hate going to a car dealership because I know how I'm going to be treated. So if that's how they feel about going to our sales center, that's just not great. So Barrett, for those builders who may be hesitant to relinquish control, because we know builders still love to control, we always get pushback from builders. I don't want to give them too much. I really want my salesperson to be there to close the deal in person. So for those builders experiencing this sort of anxiety, can you walk us through the process of how does that work? Are they being notified if somebody's in the model home? Let's talk a little bit about safety for those who may not be familiar
yeah.
with the process.
Yeah, first off, you've definitely nailed it from a consumer anxiety standpoint. When we survey home shoppers just using EnterNow to get their experience or what benefits or passion do they feel using the service, they always highlight their car buying experience. Like I feel like home building's in a bad light with a whole nother industry's bad practices. So that was the only reason I sort of cited it. In terms of self-guided tours, in terms of security, if it's an alarmed model, like we can actually disarm the alarm, give them access, turn on the cameras, track motion sensing. It's very secure. To use self-guided tours, any of the tools, you typically have to scan your driver's license, two-factor your phone number, turn on geolocation. You're scanning your driver's license. We're pulling in this data, running background checks on you. It's almost like a fraud deterrent. If somebody's going to commit fraud in your community, they're not going to give up their phone number, their driver's license, their geolocation. That the thieves are smart now because EnterNow has been present in communities that have incidents. But it's like, why didn't they go into EnterNow and get something out of the model? It's because self-guided tours has actually become a deterrent because of the location tracking. Thieves have got a lot smarter. So it's better off just going the inventory home down the block or that hasn't even been built and grab lumber than it is to try to wheedle your way through license scanning and all of that, where you're basically just handing up your information on a platter to the police. So, we've had no incidents to date in home building for 5 years, which is incredible. We're close to 1 million tours. So we definitely see self-guided tours as like a deterrent on that front of it. And as the home shopper is going through the tour, there's different immersive experiences that you can build around interacting with a sales kiosk, into using digital brochures, into highlighting options. The idea is to get them from online into the home using self-guided tours. And then once they're in the home, to get them back to a digital place or into the sales team so they can see the options, they can see the other floor plans, et cetera. So it's one big sort of cycle to try to get the customer into the door, to get a great experience, and then to get them immersively into other experience that the home builder invests in.
You get all their information for an OSC to follow up with, or the on-site agent, whoever is manning that information. They can all do their follow-up with all that contact information.
Yeah, and it syncs to almost every CRM that exists inside of home building as well. So it goes
That's
right
great.
into your platitude. Some people have just bought NterNow just because we get a first name, last name, address, phone number, all verified. Nobody can go into your sales center, write down fake information on the sales pad, or the sales agent accidentally mistype something into the computer and then the CRM's off. So it's vetted information and verified every time it goes straight into the CRM. So it's definitely an added benefit of the product.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about the integration because I think it's so important that, yes, they're not just going into the model's home all by themselves. And although some people may like that, we do want to provide them with some additional information to guide them through the process. So, Sarah, I'd love to talk about some of the integration that we have between EnterNow and Yugo. For example, when somebody starts shopping online, and how do they know which homes are EnterNow equipped? So talk to me about that process.
Great. We are so excited to work with Barrett and his team with this integration. So when someone's shopping on any of our interactive maps, those enter now or self-guided tour home sites are identified. So the shopper can easily understand that these are homes. And if they don't know what a self-guided, because we all know not everybody buys a new construction home or even knows what a self-guided tour is. So they can click on it. It will bring up all of the information and directions and URL to understand, like to register for a self-guided tour. So it's like to tour this home on your own time, register here. And it's a whole URL that will take you into the experience of EnterNow that they can get verified, as Barrett just mentioned. So it's really integrated with our site maps. So the map itself can be used obviously online when someone's sitting on their couch or at their office researching new construction. But then Barrett and I have talked about so many different use cases, and he has some great ones for other builders too, is QR codes as you enter the community. They can scan it and see the map, and then the self-guided tour homes that enter now equipped homes are highlighted on that map. So on the QR code, it brings up the map to identify everything that's going on in the property. If you're in a sales center, there could be QR codes, and also we have sales center kiosk experiences here at Anugo. Barrett integrates with the map as well. The map is part of our sales center kiosk experience. So there's a lot of different ways. So whether they're sitting on their phone, wherever they are in their life, they will be able to bring up the map and be able to identify which home sites they can visit. Maps showcase where the model home is. It showcases available home sites to be built on if you are a builder that only has a few lots that can be self-guided. So site maps or interactive site maps specifically communicate when a salesperson's at sitting side by side with the home shopper. But again, it's also a tool when someone were to walk into a sales center, it identifies all that information. Barrett and I have talked about that too, that's another step. And then obviously the salesperson can use it and identify, hey, these are the homes that you can go out and go tour on your own, or I could go with you. Giving them options, I think Barrett hit on it a couple of times, is like we have the shoppers that want to do it themselves, but we also have shoppers that want to be handheld. But giving options for all the different buyer personas is really important. Instead of just thinking we've all talked about the old way of doing things or the way we grew up. It wasn't even like what people wanted. It was just like what we forced upon them. And now shopping for cars, you guys both talked about it. My husband would only go on a car lot on a Sunday for good reason. So you can look inside. If he had a self-guided, he probably would have scanned his, like did the whole thing to be able to have a look.
Hey, that's a great idea for
Yeah, there you go. For the car, because there's keypads and things. So he would have totally done that. He's a total car guy. Like he would have a million cars if I let him. Here's the other thing too, for him specifically, he wasn't necessarily ready to buy that day. So he wasn't ready to, again, go on that first date or really waste anyone's time. He was trying to investigate, what does this car look like? Again, I hate to use it about cars, but houses are very similar. There's plenty of people that are really just trying to figure out if this is for them. And they don't necessarily want that high pressure situation or feel like they have to go through the process with a salesperson just yet, whatever that process looks like for your builder. So the integration we're super excited about. And of course, if you're interested in learning about it, you could talk to Barrett or myself or our teams, and we're happy to do a demo for you and walk you through what that would look like with your interactive site map. Or if you don't have interactive site maps, what that looks like for your company. I like to say too, if you already have maps created, this is a big deal for us. I don't know if other mapping companies offer this, but if you already have artwork created, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can actually make your artwork interactive. So we don't have to redo your art and you don't have to pay again for that. So, and then obviously the EnterNow information just goes right into it as well. So we can make any current existing static map interactive and then put the technology in there.
One of the things that I was really looking at this year, definitely in 2024, is like, how do we get more foot traffic into the homes? How do we drive them online into the home? And
Mhm.
definitely a home builder investing in interactive floor plans. They're starting to fall in love with their product. They're configuring the home online on y'all's platform. How do we get to the next step of intent? Whether it's reserving or they want to see it first. Maybe they don't reserve right away and pull the trigger. They just want to see it right away. So having self-guided tours and are now integrated at the premium of their online experience to get them into the home will give them sort of that innovative change from what they experience online to in person. So taking them from this great experience online to an analog type of sales process that they already might have anxiety for is a sort of a catch 22 there. NterNow is trying to invest in a lot more integrations with Inugo, grabbing that attention at that moment and getting them inside as fast as they can, right back into the sales funnel once they get on site as well. So home builders that do use self-guided tours and actually keep their regimen sales process where they do walk everybody through the door. Some people set up self-guided tours as just like this other funnel. It just exists. We have our mandated process. We like it. It works in tons of places, but we just want to have Enter Now or self-guided tours as just an option of always being online, as they call it. It's like our website's always on, but our physical world where we invest all our money in is a good leader recently told me, he was like, we want to always be selling, whether it's online or in person. If the people aren't there, we're going to have the robots there, but we're still going to keep our traditional sales process because that keeps everybody happy where we walk everybody in and out of the doors. But we're going to have a back door with self-guided tours over here just to capture those other buyers and to enable us to be competitive. You don't have to be in the A camp or the B camp. You can have two running in parallel where you can maintain your current processes and also still champion to the other buyer personas or just that timing in the day. That's really where we've seen this sort of category of self-guided tour start to explode.
We're
A
always
huge-
open.
Isn't it's about matching, like you said, your digital experience to in-person experience because it's continuation of your brand. You don't want to have amazing experience online and then offline it doesn't match that expectation. So, Barrett, I'd love to ask you some questions about best practices for marketing. So when we go from that online to in-person, say they scheduled, they're there. Or maybe it's the case of, I'm sure some people are still doing the drive-bys, right? Maybe I'm driving from work and I see a sign that says, hey, and you can tour this model home now. Maybe I'm going to go ahead and cool off and go ahead and do that. So, what are some of the best practices once I enter into the community? How do I know which homes are equipped with Enter Now? Because, like you said, maybe I'm too anxious to go into the model home to find out. I don't want to speak to that person. So, let's talk some marketing best practices.
Yeah, absolutely. Some of the best practices we've seen is definitely when there's highway signage or community directionals that just let people know that you have instant access. You can tour on demand. It doesn't even need to be branded for the self-touring company. It's just like, come on by. We're open from 10 to 10 every day of the week. We're always open. Come get instant access, realtors and consumers. So just a second side note about self-guided tours. One of the most prevalent people that use our platform are realtors in the community because they have the same problem with consumers do when they're going into new construction. They know that they might like you as their builder. They want to bring their buyer there. So they'll show up in front of the community. The nice part about the Inugo integration is a lot of our home builders that we share have a community sort of site map QR code at the front of the neighborhood. And now that you can actually tell in this large master plan or this large 500 home community, which homes are available to actually tour, that not only helps realtors, but also the consumer as well. So community signage is important. And then model homes, we have a lot of home builders that use an A-frame that can kind of spin around. So when the agent's on site, it's, hey, come on in. When they leave for the day, even an hour, or they're going across communities because they cross sell or they're short on staff or trying to maintain a closeout as well. They can flip the A-frame around where it's just a QR code for self-guided tours. So it's sort of that hybrid approach where it's just active when they're gone or if they're off for the holidays. So Enter Now experiences massive traffic during the holidays. We even staff up all of our support teams as well. So there's a lot of traffic that occurs during that time period. And then for inventory homes, most people just have a yard sign or some sort of door sign to just direct the people in the community away from the parts under construction and the ones that they're trying to sell. So That's a long-winded answer, but wanted to give sort of those three, at least in the in-person world.
Yeah, that's great because again, you don't want them coming in and be like, okay, so the sign or this is the lot I thought, but it's not clear once I get here what the next steps are. And so speaking of the next steps, let's talk about what happens once they're actually inside the model home. Because again, even though they're not being assisted by a salesperson, there are some steps that we can take as home builders to make it feel that they're still getting some information from us. Maybe it's through Alexa, through other integrations, through a Nugo integration. So let's talk about some potential ideas for how can we provide more information as they're touring the home. And then what's the call to action? Obviously, we want to include that call to action just like we would with the salesperson. We want to ask for the sale. So I'm thinking potentially by now, as they're touring, what could we do? What kind of experience could we provide to make it feel like, hey, there's information here, there's help here, go.
Yeah, absolutely. So, from an international standpoint, as soon as they get their code, they go into the home, they get texted a set of instructions. So it's up to us to kind of create that immersive walkthrough so we can sort of just jam right here. But what we've seen before is since we do capture their name, we could put their name up on the TV. We could personalize some of the experience if it's fully connected. The voice part of it, Alexa, that was sort of an innovative thing like a year or two ago, but customers definitely shy away from some of that privacy standpoint of you walk in, it's like boom, it just starts talking to you. So the better things are definitely navigating people in the space. So having just some directional signage, a kiosk that welcomes them, see the floor plans. We can also direct them via that text, like step one, step two, step three, even to the point where they get a gift card if they do like these three pieces. So you can actually walk them through each experience inside of the model home. So they go upstairs, they check in, they go downstairs, they see the 3 or 4 bedrooms with the office, the Zoom room. You can kind of navigate them through the house, even though your salesperson's not there. And you can have little digital brochures or even just pamphlets for people that are touring these homes, even if they're unstaffed. And definitely for closeouts or situations where a salesperson is remotely monitoring that home, you can put your personal sales information in there. You can write like a guest card where they can check in, where they feel like their own personal experience, etc. And then even just something simpler is if you know they're coming on Saturday, but you're actually not going to be there on site, you can actually give them like a FaceTime tour or whatnot. All we do is just provide access. So those are two of the three of the things that we see the most on people leveraging model homes that are unstaffed or doing self-guided tours.
I love that idea of kind of gamifying the experience. So you could definitely have even like a QR code. Maybe they scan with their phone and say they go into the bathroom, and maybe it does give them the information about all the finishes and what makes their bathroom different from all the other builders and the materials. So there's so much that you can include in that, just like a skillful salesperson would tell them what things differentiate this builder from the other builder. You can incorporate all of those things into the experience. So let's talk about next steps because, again, just because they're touring on their own, it doesn't mean we don't want to ask for the sale, ask for the next step. So, Sarah, I'd love to pick your brain about that. Obviously, we do offer buy now, reserve now options.
This has been in the forefront of my mind since Anugo launched Reserve Now and since I've known Barrett. So my thought is it's like a happy marriage. You have someone that just walks themselves into a home that just self-toured. And my question always to my builders that I know are excited about this technology, I was like, so what's their next step? Like I've asked my builders and they're like, well, they have to call us or people call them and ask them. Like sometimes it's not even expressed in the home.
Mhm.
And then the shopper has to find the cell phone number or the salesperson's number and be like, what's my next step? They're actually or physically emailing the builder, what's my next step? I'm in front of 123 Summit Road. What's my next step? So that was the feedback I was getting about self-guided tours, that there was just no next step. So my thought is, why wouldn't you have a digital way for someone to reserve this home or a digital way for someone to buy this home? Our company, obviously, Anugo, has created a digital sales process that you can reserve the home right there. So why couldn't you scan a QR code? You'll have a sign. Do you want to make this home yours? Reserve it now. And it takes you right to, in our scenario, the new go, right? But whatever your process is, to digitally be able to put a deposit down or have information. Here's your next steps, pre-approval. But it should be easy for the shopper. You shouldn't add a layer of friction by saying you have to find your phone number or call somebody to figure that out. And that has been habitually, I don't know about Barrett, like whenever I ask, I'm like, so then what? Someone just toured your home, then what? And they're like, well, they call us or they email us if they want it. And again, that's what we're talking about. It's like, what do we want them to do? If they want it, we want them to be able to buy it. So why not give them a man list, if you will, or the process, whether or not they feel comfortable doing it, but they should know there should be a process in place. And that's what I want the takeaway of this. There needs to be a process that someone doesn't have to be called or emailed for someone to understand what the next process is. So if it's a QR code, you could take them to a new go, obviously our platform for Reserve Now, or it can be a whole PDF of this is what happens next. You book a meeting on our calendar. Maybe it's a Calendly link. Get pre-approved. Here's our preferred lender, whatever. So that's where my mind goes. It's like finish, tied in a bow. Let's finish this up. How do we make this the most perfect process for our builders? I know Reserve Now is still like really new to everybody and they're not as comfortable. I live in the world of technology, just like Barrett and Anya. So like to me, it's like a no brainer. But that's, I think the message today is like, all right, you've invested on this technology. Why should someone have to wait till Monday? Because it's an odd hour that they're visiting this potentially. Why should they have to wait until the next morning when you open or a Monday or whatever the schedule is to make the home theirs? Why not take it out of the market? And that's where, again, I find out that people are so excited about these homes that they're touring. They want to buy it, but they just don't know how to buy it
Yeah.
necessarily.
You got to make it foolproof, really. And also, if you think about, it's like we talked about the whole experience. Okay, you had a great online experience. Now they've been able to tour the home. Phone call is probably not the best way to go at this point, right? If they've gone this far without making a phone call, chances are they don't really want the phone call. So I'm thinking, yeah, as they leave the house, again, because we have the geo tag, right? Maybe it's an automated text message that they're getting that link to reserve now, buy now, explaining the process. Like, hey, did you like this home? You can reserve it now so that nobody else can reserve it, the next day. It's especially if you're touring, say Friday night, and people are going to be out touring this home probably over the holiday, over the weekend. You don't want to lose out. You can reserve it now. So yeah, just like Sarah said, make it as easy as possible. Show the next steps so that they know exactly what to do, just like a skilled salesperson would. Hopefully, ask for the sale, ask for the next steps, whatever is appropriate. And again, just be cognizant that maybe the phone call isn't the best way to go, but something like a text message, or again, when they leave on the door, right? As they're exiting, there's a QR code saying, next steps, do you want to make this home yours? Here's the
Yeah.
process.
And I think it should happen inside maybe the kitchen or end like multiple places because people buy based on emotion. So once they leave, they may or may not think about that house again. So if they're there and they've got the emotions going, and I used to say as a salesperson, like we're all in sales here, but it's like when someone starts placing where the Christmas tree is going, or someone starts talking about their child going to prom and coming down those staircase, when they start talking about those moments in their life and I'm there with them, I'm like, it's like, did like the alarm bells are going off. I was like, we're ready. Like we don't need to talk about this anymore. They're ready to buy. Like they've already placed the Christmas tree. They already can see themselves cooking in this kitchen. That's where inside the homes typically is where the magic really happens and people start making those decisions. So people leave, they may or may not come back. They may or may not think about it again. So we do have to have really good follow up to remind them of this beautiful home that they visited. So whatever that is, we talked about virtual tours or Matterport tours, things like that, the OSC. But I think we ask for it in the kitchen, like where all those emotional spots are. Do you want to make this home yours? You have it everywhere. And then whatever those next steps are. And again, not everybody can put another step of technology immediately in place, but there is technology out there that you can put in place if you want to do it without phone calls and emails and another meeting, if you will.
Yeah, I was going to say a lightweight thing that we're seeing across the board being implemented in Q4. Back to your original point on the top of the call is that there's a lot of spec homes stacking up. So more and more builders are integrating Reserve Now on their website, a lightweight version of sort of reserving, sort of doing it themselves. Nugo offers much more of a professional out of the box solution for that. But self guided tours blends very nicely in that. So as you put down your deposit, you reserve this lot or reserve this inventory home, you can schedule a tour right from that website. You can call the salesperson to get an in person tour or schedule a self guided tour. And when you have those two buttons next to each other, what you'll find is the self guided tour button is clicked like 90% of the time more. So people can reserve their inventory home online and also schedule a tour. And this will be a competitive edge for you. And we're seeing a lot of home builders start implementing that sort of that mirror of deposit reserve now and then being able to tour the home. It's almost like the Carvana experience where you sort of pick the car that you want, you reserve it. You can go see it on the little escalator of the cars, and then you actually purchase it and take it home. But this is an example of being able to reserve and then just schedule a tour right away. The experience is starting to blend together.
So, as we wrap things up here, let's talk about some of the best practices for implementation because Barrett, you said you have over 100 builders now using NterNow, so I'm sure you've been through every scenario. So talk to us about some of the best practices. What are a few best ways to make sure that you're successful as you implement this program?
Yeah, I'd say number one is a program like self-guided tours sometimes involves multiple parties as a home builder. The construction team doing the physical installs of locks, the marketing team doing the digital marketing, bringing in the program to expand their lead funnel because self-guided tours will deliver you 2 to 3 times more leads. And then on the sales team, the confidence, this isn't replacing your job, it's an added benefit, how you can leverage it when you're not there, using it as sort of like your door butler and your robot assistants, et cetera. Self-guided tours is best implemented when all three parties are comfortable with the program and share the responsibilities. If it all falls on like a marketing person to install locks, to do everything, it's tough. If it always falls on the sales team, yes, it's an added benefit to all the different departments, et cetera. And the technology can also be used by the construction team to get rid of keys, et cetera, keyless access. So it does help across all the departments. And if it falls on one person's back, it's traditionally pretty difficult. So through onboarding or training and sharing the responsibility, it can be a very happy marriage. Second is just making sure that self-guided tours is shown in the real world with signage and also digitally where self-guided tours is synced online. So all your properties that are available to tour show up on your website so people can schedule in advance or show up at their own convenience. And that's the best of both worlds. And I'd say that's probably the two bullet points that really make the program successful.
Yeah. So as you're talking about it, a couple of things come to mind. So one is the access for trades.
Yeah.
So you can absolutely use this program to give access to your trade, and it gives you much better control knowing when they come and go. So if somebody said I was there, but you can tell no, you were not
Well,
there
there's no
because
auto log
you have
now.
access to the property. So, and then also the other important point you talked about is having the salespeople bought in because some people may take this as like, oh, I'm being replaced by technology, I'm being replaced by a robot. And if they have that kind of an attitude towards it and they're not bought in on all the benefits of, hey, better work life flexibility, more sales, and all those things that come as a consequence of this, they may be standoffish and not wanting to use it. And if they're not 100% in, the program is just not going to be successful. So you need to absolutely make sure everybody's bought in and probably have a champion from every department, whether it's marketing person who's going to be lead the marketing efforts on that, sales department, salesperson who's going to be sharing best practices, best examples during the meetings, and then even a project manager, right, from the production side who's going to be, again, championing that for you so that everybody works together and make sure it's a successful program. Because if you're going to be investing money and you go, same deal, like Sarah, doesn't it drive you crazy when we talk to our clients who have certain products and they only use like a small
Right.
portion of what that product is actually capable of. And then you got to make sure you give them the training, you show them the best cases and all of that. So if you guys have any questions on how to implement a Nugo, how to implement NterNow to make sure that you are offering that stellar experience from your online experience to in-person experience and blending that experience together, you're positioning yourself as tech forward, online, you want to make sure that you're also mirroring that experience in person. I will include all the information for both Barrett and Sarah so you guys can get a hold of them. And Barrett, tell us, where do you hang out on social media? Is there a place where people can connect you? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, best place is email barrett@NterNow.com or LinkedIn for sure. Not very active on Facebook and Instagram, but LinkedIn's definitely the best, or emails. Or you can go to our website at www.NterNow.com.
Perfect. And Sarah, how about you? Is there a place where you hang out if people want
I
to follow you?
I'm always on email like Barrett. So it's Sarah without the H. So it's just SARA at anuvo.com. But I do hang out on all social platforms because I'm pretty active. LinkedIn, more so for business. But I get people slipping into my DMs on Instagram and on Facebook. So whatever you're most comfortable with, I do show up all those places. So thank you.
Amazing. Well, as we wrap this up, is there anything that I missed, I forgot to say, or anything you think that our builders should know, Barrett?
No, I think we covered all the topics, even some of the controversial ones about current processes versus new processes, et cetera. The nice part about 2024, definitely from the planning and what we've seen in 2023, is people are really trying to change their business in the next year. So, doubling down on technologies like ours is a great place to start. So,
Absolutely. Sarah, anything to add?
No, I think we covered all of our bases. I'm just excited. I think everybody needs to have more of an open mind. Sales folks, I'm a salesperson. Embrace the technology. Look at it, as Barrett said, as your butler or your assistant. This will keep your company being able to pay you what they pay you, keeping a leaner team. They keep you and they don't add a whole bunch of other people. I think that's the biggest thing. Overhead for a company actually weighs a company down. So they can keep you, the salesperson, but the technology is actually going to help them keep that leaner team and keep you in place versus having 5 of you or 6 of you or 10 of you. So I think that's a huge thing. It's whenever we say technology, leaner teams, it doesn't mean you specifically are going to lose it. But if you don't embrace the new technology your company is highly investing in, I hate to say like a little check mark next to your name, like they're not embracing this huge investment we just made. So I think, again, that might be a little taboo to say, but that is something to really consider. So embrace all technology that your company is investing in because it is a huge investment for them, but it is to keep everything running really effective and efficiently. And you'll see that it's going to be your best friend. Like that's the thing. Like I'm a salesperson. I'm obsessed with technology because I've seen the impact it is and how much better I can do my job because of it.
Well said, Sarah. Well said. I double down on that as well. So you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Happy New Year. This is going to be the last episode in 2023. It's crazy to say we're heading into 2024. I'm super excited for what 24 is going to bring us. Merry Christmas and all the holidays. Happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. So we're excited that you've been a part of this journey with us, and we hope that you continue this journey into 2024. So thank you, and we'll see you next time. Bye,
Thank you.
guys.
bye, everybody.